Good morning, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. April here with Medwell Unscripted. I'm so sorry for
Oops. April, you're muted. There you go.
welcome. Welcome to Medwell Unscripted. My name is April, and I'm really excited to be here. I apologize for the delay. We've had some technical difficulties behind the scenes, and which created me to be muted when we first came on. But it's great to see everybody, and I'm really excited. We have a great guest up that we are going to share with you momentarily. First, I just want to tell you a little bit about kind of Medwell Unscripted. So Medwell Unscripted is a live series in partnership with DocMJ. We recently at Medwell partnered with DocMJ the end of January, which we're really excited because it offers us offers patients a lot more of Medwell DocMJ. And in kind of education and all the things we do, we are able to certify not only in Massachusetts, we have multiple locations in Florida, Georgia, Texas, Ohio, and coming soon to Pennsylvania. So we're really excited about this partnership and being able to partner our series. We are streaming live to our Facebook channels, both on Medwell as DocMJ, Twitter, which is very exciting. That's a new platform we're streaming to, and YouTube as well. LinkedIn had a hiccup today. That was why we were delayed. So no LinkedIn today, but we're really excited to be here. In this series, Emily and I, my partner in crime, Emily Waxman, who's the Director of Community Outreach, we are sharing really about seniors and cannabis and kind of bringing education to the forefront about how boomers are consuming and using medical cannabis for their wellness. There's been a lot of stigmas back in the day about using cannabis, and really our goal throughout this series is to bring on experts in the field and people that are advocates for medicinal cannabis to help you have a better understanding to answer your questions about how it really can help you in your wellness and getting rid of the stigma, most importantly. So first, I want to introduce my partner again, Emily Waxman, who is our Director of Community Outreach. Good morning, Emily. How are you?
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see everyone.
All right. And then our guest today is the cannabis connoisseur, Oran Allen with Curaleaf. We're very excited to have you, Oran. How are you?
Incredibly excited to be here.
I can feel it.
I'm always incredibly excited, but this is fantastic. I'm honored to be included, so thank you very much. This is fantastic.
It's an honor to have you, Oran.
So a little bit about Oran. So we brought him on today because, first of all, as you can see, he's totally a fun guy. He's ready. He's like, it's going to be a great live stream today. But he has this special word called Oraganji, which you can see he has as his name. And it's really a powerful word that talks about cannabis positivity. And he has a lot of experience in the cannabis field, both with patients and rec side of things, and also experience with boomers, kind of one of our subjects today. So we're really excited. As we kick off, I just want to have Emily share, because as we've partnered with DocMJ, Emily will be seen more and more over the different states. So Emily, tell everybody a little bit about what you are up to in your busy life, girlfriend.
Oh, of course. Yes, I'd love to. So I am out and about in the community. If you see me at any of your local dispensaries, please make sure that you come over and say hello. It is just an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you about obtaining your medical card, the benefits of having your medical card, and any questions that you might have in regard to cannabis and how it could benefit you or a loved one that you may have. So certainly you'll find me out and about in the community. It's my absolute favorite thing to do. And again, like I mentioned, please make sure that you stop and say hello if you should see me around town, because again, my favorite thing to do is be able to talk to you and educate you and, tell you how we certainly can make life a little bit better for yourself or for a loved one.
Awesome. And so without further ado, see, technical gremlins. So as we are having, and I do want to let you know, my friends, is that with live streams, technical difficulties can happen, which, we go with the flow around here. So Oran's going to log back in here, but just feel free to drop a hello in the comments and let us know you're here. And if we, like Oran just had some technical difficulties, he'll be back in a second and we'll continue our conversation. But so Emily, let's talk a little bit. We'll get started here. And then I'll once Oran comes back in, I'll reintroduce him. So talk a little bit about kind of some of the events that you do. So I know that you're out educating and kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that you talk to patients about with medicinal cannabis.
I think that there's a lot of misconceptions out there as far as obtaining your medical cannabis certification. So it's really just an absolute pleasure to be able to tell everyone how easy it is. I think that people think that it's going to be very stressful, that they have to get all their medical records and that it's another physician that they have to go and find. And, it's going to be, just an enormous expense and all sorts of things that are just going to make it very stressful. And we at Medwell and DocMJ, our goal is to do the absolute opposite of that. We want to make things as easy as possible. So that's why we have the most incredible caring staff that we have, not only from the medical assistants that you'll see when you walk into one of the offices, but right down to our physicians, right down to our call center. We are there to help you right from the beginning of when you pick up the phone or book an appointment online, all the way to actually making sure that we get that certification completed for you and then help you with anything that might be involved on the state side of things. So getting that registration completed, if you should have questions, concerns for, our friends in Massachusetts, all of our senior friends that are 65 and above, we take care of that registration for you completely free of charge. So, we're there to make it nice and easy. Oh, wonderful to see your face.
So the technical gremlins are not on our side.
I've been scrambling over here.
They're hunting all of us today.
No worries. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you Oran Allen. Oran, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of your background. We'd love to hear from you.
Wow. Well, and it's funny because that's going to come into my name. Oraganji. Oraganji is me. It's the branding of myself, but not. It's the branding of all of us. In cannabis, we're a little bit of everybody. We're lawyers, we're doctors, we're presidents and vice presidents. We're everybody. That. We're working at the convenience stores, the auto mechanic shop, you name it. We are every part of society, but we're all the same under the leaf. Yeah. My whole life, I've been a smoker. I've been a cannabis user. But I never completely understood it until I needed it for my health. And when I started to need it for my health, people would refer to me as the ganji, the guy, he knows everything. I had studied many years when it comes to cannabis, even going back to the original literatures on it. And so in that, I took my name, Oran, and Ganji, and created Oraganji, which is the vibe. It's the power, it's the energy, it's not me. It's now everybody. It's everything that cannabis is. It's community. It's friendship. It's education. It's understanding. It's positivity. That's the Oraganji. We forget that we need to continually infuse those around us with positivity. That's what cannabis is. Cannabis is a second chance for those that just don't need medication, but they need a community that understands, that guides them through something like microdosing and regimens and learning cannabis like a medication. I can use it recreationally and I can feel great. I can use it medicinally and I can help my life. I can bring balance to my body and my soul. It's everything. And that's the exciting part about Oraganji. For such a long time, we couldn't say marijuana. You'd say marijuana, like, oh, whoa, this is a bad word. So it was the Oraganji. And then cannabis, of course, has taken over these last few years. And I'm excited. I love that we can call it what it is. It's the oldest medicine in the world. And so Oraganji is the power within all of us, the positivity of cannabis. So
Awesome.
me, I come from all backgrounds. By trade, I'm a CEH. I'm a certified ethical hacker. So I did start doing a lot of different contracts, ethical. I wrote programs. I fixed computers, everything technical. I've also worked in multiple different fields, anywhere from selling phones to selling real estate. So I've been a salesman my whole life, but without, I say it almost without true purpose. Cannabis, and the other day I posted this, and it hasn't been seen much because a lot of people don't know what this word means, but it's called ikigai. It's a Japanese word for finding your center, your balance, your purpose, because I'm needed and I can make a living from this and I enjoy this and it's my life and it's my passion. So that's the whole thing kind of wrapped up in one.
I love it. I love it.
That is really beautiful, Oran.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
love
so,
it.
I think one of the things I would love for you to share is, so you've been working, all of that experience, and what have you been doing specifically in the cannabis community most recently?
Wow.
So, because you have a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience, but I'd love for people to know a little bit about your background and working directly in the cannabis industry.
Well, and so I do a lot of posting. I do a lot on LinkedIn, not as much on the other sites, but I do use LinkedIn a lot. I'm trying to branch out. But what I post is not really what I do. So what I do is I talk to doctors. I educate doctors. Now, I say this very carefully because they don't know much about the endocannabinoid system. Some do. Some are incredibly well versed, and they know exactly the interactions and how it scientifically works in our body. Yes, that's what I need. I need 100% more of that, giving recommendations to patients. So when they get their script, the doctor is giving them good, honest, options. So I come in and I educate, I talk, I excite. I bring them a little taste of what the cannabis community really is and the energy, the positivity and excitement of it. So, and I do the same thing within the dispensaries. So I come into the dispensaries and I talk to the staff. I help energize, excite, bring energy in that area. So I also work in an area. I do all of Florida, and I have a team that does pretty much what I do as well.
Awesome.
But not only do we talk to the doctors, not only we talk to the medical assistants, we come to the dispensaries, we get them excited. We go to the Chamber of Commerce. We go to the smoke shops. We go everywhere, and we spread the community that cannabis is for Curaleaf.
Awesome. So let's talk. So because Emily and I are really trying to, in this series, talk a lot to our senior audience, talk to me a little bit about kind of if I were a boomer and I was, I grew up in a generation where, cannabis is not something. It has a kind of a connotation of just bad juju for many, not all, many. And I think of, and I brought this up last week, but I think of my father, right? So he's like anti-cannabis, all of this, because I think it's an understanding, right? The lack of understanding. So if you were to speak to a boomer, tell me a little bit about what you would say to them about talking about how medicinal cannabis can really consider, why they should consider it for their wellness.
A lot of times when our boomers, when our older generation is turning to cannabis, it's because a lot of what they're using is not working for them, or their body is pushing back against the morphine and the Vicodin and the over-the-counter prescriptions that are piling up on top of each other to heal for the things that their opioids are doing. We cut all those things out. So our boomers, our older generation, our strong, educated, but against cannabis generation, because they grew up in that. They grew up with that propaganda.
Yeah.
But when they see it working for a friend of their same generation, oh, well, it's working for her. I want to try it. But for those that come to me that are against it still, but they have no option. The VA has cut off their medication. Their doctor's no longer giving them the incredible amount of pills they once were, because they're being restricted on that.
Right.
These people are coming off mass amounts of medications. They need options. If I can get to them, if one of my staff can get to them, we can talk to them on a medical side. We talk to them about it in small amounts, in microdosing. I had a young lady the other day. She came to me and she goes, look, I purchased this the other day. It's not working for me. It's too much. I can't handle this. I go, wait a second. Let's take a deep breath. Let's talk about it. As silly as that sounds, let's just talk about it. Right. What do you have? How are you using it? We need to be able to talk more. Sit down with people. That's still very important. And the faster we run towards recreational, we don't get to do that talk. We don't get to be able to get so close to people and treat it so medically. Instead, it gets very recreational.
Yeah, great point.
Pure Leaf, and I have to say, it's very medical. They keep it on a medical side. There's options in that. And this is how we use it. This is where we're going to use it. That's something I enjoy. That's something I want to see. Broad spectrum. More bud tenders talking about the health and healing and the energy of it, not just how high this THC is going to get you. So we talk to them differently. I talk to them. I'm a cannabis user. I'm a medical patient here in Florida. I'm an advocate in so many ways, but I talk to them not about smoking. Their first thing is like, look, I don't want to smoke it. I don't want to smoke it. I'm like, don't smoke. Don't do it. Fine. Like the edibles. I've heard what happens to people on edibles. I'm like, listen, you take too much of anything. You take too much of your Vicodins, your morphine. Right. You're done for.
Right.
You take too much migraine medication. You're done for. Yeah. I think it was Imitrex and something like that. It's just terrible things that they do to your body. Yeah. You use too much cannabis. Look, you're going to be on the couch. Luckily, it's not doing as much or any damage in that nature.
Correct.
Like other drugs can.
Mm-hmm.
So I get them comfortable with the fact that it can't hurt them.
Right. I think it's important to say too is that you're absolutely right. People always immediately attribute cannabis to smoking, and that's not what they want to do. But there's edibles, but there's even just topicals that can help with, arthritic pain and things like that. So,
and that's a big deal, especially with neuropathy, fibromyalgia. I happen to have neuropathy. I have fibromyalgia. I have terrible pains throughout my body, and I use topicals, but I also use RSOs. I make tea. Tea is amazing. We're now talking about CBGA, acidic, in its acidic value, the mother of all cannabinoids, the beginning. So this is before it's even decarboxylated. This is before we get to THC and CBD. This is the beginning. And it's attaching onto receptors of the body that are not just cannabinoid receptors. So we're talking about neural receptors. We're talking about your circulatory system, your stomach, for people with IBS and Crohn's. With that generation, we start talking about your ailments. So instead of them getting nervous about cannabis, I ask them, what's bothering you? What's the one thing that we can look at and we can help with? It's sleep. Sometimes it's restless legs, restless mind. It's stomach pains. One issue will contribute to another.
Yeah.
So I try to help them take care of one issue. And if we can help one thing, that's a milestone.
Well, I think it's important you brought up an important point of asking questions, because first of all, I think one of the things with patient care, it's really, you hear all these different things in kind of healthcare, but you're listening to them. You're asking for their input, and that's super important because you're asking them to pretty much advocate for themselves, right? And if we're not advocating for ourselves, then we're not going to get the treatment that we deserve or what we need. So I love that about the asking questions piece.
Yes.
Now, when you're talking kind of you're talking about cannabinoids and we're talking about some different products, but I guess why don't you talk to me and share with Emily and I and our audience about kind of some questions that anyone could answer, but in particular a boomer coming in, what should they bring into, they've met with their doctor, they have their certification. And I know, our MedWell and DocMJ doctors, we really do our best to make sure that they know about dosing and those things before they walk into the dispensary. But sometimes, just like me, I walk up the door and I'm like, I walk into a new place where I'm uncomfortable. I'm outside of my comfort zone. What are some recommended questions that you would say as you first come in for the first time? What would you ask?
That's actually that's something I'm so happy that you asked. So let me start with the doctors. Depending on where you go, and I have to say with the Doc MJs, I've been very impressed, but we don't see it widespread. What I'm about to say is a prescription, a recommendation. You don't have to get this, but for your issues, because we've spoken, sleep is a problem, PTSD, you have pain, you have this, you have that. Here's some recommendations to get started with. But they need a better understanding though, before they start doing that. They need to come tour the farms. And again, a lot of doctors are not cannabis users.
Right.
That's the other side of it. So it's hard to recommend cannabis as a doctor without using it, without knowing what it actually does to you. So
Sure.
I have some doctors that give a detailed prescription. One in particular, I mentioned him earlier before we started the show, Dr. Hill in Lake City, Florida. He talks to the patient, gives a detailed prescription. Says, look, if you can't do oral, you can do inhalation. If you don't want to do inhalation, here's the recommended milligrams in edibles, recommended with an RSO, So that's great. Now you're giving them a direction to start with. Because when you get to the dispensary, there's so much.
Right.
The dispensary staff, look, I wouldn't recommend bringing much unless you do get a recommendation from the doctor. And now at least you have something, a guide for you to look at, not for the dispensary. When I say that, you use that as a guide for you. So before you walk into that dispensary, go online, look at the menu, see what they're offering. Do you want flower? Do you want to smoke? Well, then you're looking for flower, and start with just flower. Don't get flower and edibles and oral solutions and oh my God, that's a lot. Because then when you get home, you're like, I'm going to try a little flower and a little oral and a little edibles. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there going, I can't. What am I doing? This is terrible. I don't want that happening. I want education before that. I want microdosing. I want it to slowly assimilate into your system. Once your body experiences those levels, and as cannabis assimilates in, we don't need it to be, oh, it's so strong. If you do it slowly in small amounts, your body gets used to it. You do it every single day, the same amount, it's medication. Look, a doctor gives me a prescription. I want you to take this twice a day for the next 5 days. You got it. I'm going to smoke twice a day for the next 5 days. And then maybe I'll take a couple day break. And then I'll go back to smoking again. Now I'm using it medically. I'm using it differently. But just because I feel good doesn't mean it's bad. So again, I think the questions really come down to, what are you looking for? What do you want out of cannabis? What kind of healing is the most important? Do I need sleep? And look, a lot of people say it's sleep. A lot of my boomers. And one of the things that's invigorated me in cannabis is the healing, is the change. I can't say names, of course, HIPAA. I have a young lady. Her life had gotten so rough. She was living out of her wheelchair. Her husband had died, and she had been taking care of him with dementia for about 10 years. 10 years as he was degrading, and she didn't sleep. She didn't sleep anymore. And then when he died, she wasn't sleeping anymore. I had spoken to her many different times when she just got into cannabis. This is the part that's hard, because we don't get the opportunity to speak to these people before they get to the dispensaries. But the call centers of a lot of these dispensaries, they have call centers. They have people answering phones that are well educated in cannabis and in understanding. And sometimes you can get a hold of them and talk to them and get a good direction of where you need to go. I just wish there were more call centers, more education call centers. Even from like Doc MJ and Medwell. I don't know if you guys have ever thought of these things, and I know it's hard to run call centers because you have to have somebody to answer the phones, and then before you know it, it's thousands of calls. But that's where cannabis needs to be. That's the kind of questions we need to ask. I need constant help. I need constant understanding. It's not just the first questions. I want to learn how to make butter. I want to know how to make tea. What happens if I just eat cannabis raw? Honestly, you can emaciate it. You're getting amino acids. You're getting omega-3s, omega-6. You're getting magnesium, manganese. Wow. wow, and you're passing first pass metabolism. This is if you're chewing it raw, and it gets right in your stomach. And if you have Crohn's or IBS, yes, now we're helping. Now we're coating the stomach. Now we're attacking the problem that you have. If it's sleep that you need, let's look at that sleep. What's keeping you awake? These are the questions we need to ask. Is it pain? Is it restless leg? Is it stress or nerves or depression? So many little things can keep you awake. We need to find those reasons. So if it's pain, is it nerve pain? Is it bone pain? Let's look at sativas. Sativas, nighttime, yes. Hybrid leaning sativas. They will ease that nerve and bone pain, and now your body can naturally fall asleep. Is it mind and muscle? Let's look at indicas. See, I like to keep it easy. And let's start small in small amounts. I'm sorry, I can go on forever, and I could just I haven't even started talking about the Western cannabinoids.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned too, Oran, is just for all of our friends out there that are listening, for anyone that does get certified with Medwell or DocMJ, they can reach out to their physician anytime that they are certified with us and ask these questions. And that is not something that you need to pay for. That is, one of the pleasures of coming to an office like ours. So,
and actually, I love that, because a lot of times people, when they go to the appointment, they're nervous to ask the doctor things.
Of course.
And I've noticed that when I'll sit and I'll watch from afar. I've noticed patients come in and they're like, look, I just want to get my card. And they get in, like, oh, next, okay, I'm going in. They go into the doctor and they come out. I'm like, so did you ask the doctor all those questions you had? No, I got my card. I'm happy. I gotta go. I'm like, do you have questions? Of course I've got questions, but we'll get to everything. Right. So I love that I want them to know that they can call the doctor. People can call me. They can call anybody here at the dispensaries and ask questions. There's never dumb questions. This is cannabis. We are in a constant evolutionary learning state. And in that energy of cannabis, we want to teach. We want to include. Because when you were mentioning earlier, it's about self-care, self-health. I lost weight because of cannabis. I changed my eating habits because of cannabis. I had very high cholesterol, and because of CBD usage, I've done amazing work. I've brought down and eating properly, but I've brought my cholesterol down. My blood sugar, I was pre-diabetic, I'm diabetic, but I wasn't. I'm not. My blood sugar is normalized. THCV, the extended hydrocarbon, amazing for appetite control, blood sugar control. There are things we need to unlearn and relearn cannabis. Okay, I'm stopping.
Love it. So kind of as we wrap up here, so the Oraganji, as we leave, and what would be kind of a message that you want to send to our audience about that Oraganji mindset as we wrap up here?
Okay. We are all the Oraganji. We are all the Ganji, and however we want to positively forward motion that. My message is I want people to be you, the natural, unapologetic you. I want your energy, your love, your passion, and your understanding when you come into cannabis. When you come into cannabis, come into it with an open mind. The more open you are to this, the more open the healing is to you. If we fight it, it fights us. They'll say, fine, I'm not going to heal. I'm not going to help you. Not until you're ready for me. The community wants to help you. So ask the questions. Sometimes we're a little goofy. Sometimes we're very enthusiastic. I myself, I want to say this as part of the Oraganji. I was not always like this. I was depressed. I was lethargic. I was unmotivated, unmoving. My life was lost. And when I was able to get rid of prescription medications, when I was able to get rid of pharmacology as we understand it, and start to understand my body differently, my health differently, where cannabis could help me, it changed my life. I'm bipolar. I have PTSD. I have ADHD. I have blah, 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 blah. I have nothing because of cannabis. Cannabis has centered my life, my soul, and my heart. And that's what I want for people. It doesn't have to be cannabis, but it's the community of. We're here to help. We want your pain gone, or at least subsided. We want you to sleep again. We want you to see the world in its beautiful colors once again. That's my message. That's all I want for you. I want the love of cannabis if you need it in your life. And call your doctors, call your nurses, talk to them, find out more about cannabis. If you have questions, email me, email them, list them out. We love to cook with it. We help it. It's the 1,000,001 uses. And those are the things that we need to learn about it. It's unlearning and relearning cannabis.
I love it. I love it.
It's wonderful.
Oran,
What a message.
yeah. That on that note, I'm feeling energized.
How do you not start your day and just, run right out to your local dispensary and just,
That's right. No, I'm feeling charged as well. I feel, look, I get that charge and the energy from those around me, from you guys. It's this love. Look, no other industry in the world can we ever get that. No other industry in the world can we say that it's love, it's passion, it's to help people. That's cannabis. And that's why, I'm so glad the move I've made over, it's about that. It's about community. And that's where my excitement is. And the ever budding, ever building world of cannabis excites me every day.
I love it. I love it. All right, Oran, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your messaging.
Thank you for having me.
Oraganji, my friends, think of Oraganji and think, positivity.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I feel blessed. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Oran. Honestly, thank you. Absolute pleasure.
If you want to connect with Oran, please drop by his LinkedIn profile. It's here in the chat. If you have questions about your medical cannabis certification, stop by medwellhealth.net or docmj.com. We are here to help you and answer any of your questions that you have. And again, kind of what Oran said, there is no question that is dumb. Don't ever be afraid. You're always in a safe place when you are talking to somebody on our team.
Absolutely.
As the Oran's team. Emily, thank you so much. My friends, we will see you next week. And same time, same place. We're looking forward to having another chat. And the technical gremlins, hopefully, will be on the other side next week. But thanks for tuning in.
You did an amazing job. It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. My friends, if you are catching the replay, definitely leave a comment in the chat, ask a question. We're here to help you, and we will absolutely get back to you. Thank you, everybody, and have a phenomenal day. And again, thanks so much for your time, friends.
Everybody have an awesome, positive day. Thank you for having me.